we'll take questions on the education budget. Assembly Member Dismore.
Thank you. I've got a copy of your internal paper here in front of me.
Outrageous that the Mayor comes here and raises a audit report which has not been published, which has not been seen, which is released on a link which I got from the head of audit on requesting it at 10:10 this morning. The Assembly has no sight of this, and it's been used as a veil behind which the Mayor is hiding. It is not a proper use of process. I'm not suggesting there's anything corrupt or untoward in this, but he is hiding behind this, and we need...
I might just point out I'm about to answer questions on an urgent thing which I was given 1 minute's notice.
Can I just say that is not a point of order. However, I think it is a reasonable point to make.
Well, it's also reasonable. I'm happily answering questions about this blooming question you've got about some leaked document.
Mr. Dismore.
Well, we're talking about time to prepare. What's your question?
I've got your paper here in front of me, and it's headed Education and Youth Forward Planning, dated on the 4th of November. So you've had a couple of weeks to prepare on this one anyway. And the very first line... That
paper has not come to my... As you know perfectly well, Dismore, that hasn't come to my office.
We are forecasting a 90% reduction in GLA-managed investment in education and youth. That's the first line. And the very last paragraph starts this way. We need to manage expectations. Look, isn't that just what you've been trying to do?
I don't know what... Look, you know, the paper you're talking about has not come to the 8th floor, and I can only... I don't know, I haven't seen the thing you're talking about. It's, you know, it's not a paper prepared by me or what I can tell you is that there will continue to be massive funding for youth projects. And
that's not what your paper says here, and it's headed Greater London Authority.
Dismore, that's not my paper. It's your paper. I think you've written it. I think it's you. It's Dismore. You've written it. You have, and you've planted it. I don't know. It's a Dismore document.
They've forgotten you're the mayor in your efforts to get elected to Parliament. It says Greater London Authority on the top. That's you, isn't it?
You've written it.
And what it says here is quite clearly. It says, decreasing our funding has a disproportionate impact to the most vulnerable groups of young people. It says investment in positive activities
that sounds like very good sense
that supports young people to sustain education is decreasing, with 3 large projects closing in March 2016. It says there remains a need to invest in education and youth because there is increasing concern with respect to age 17 plus achievement. There are low numbers of apprenticeships, high numbers of children living in poverty, and
can I raise a point of order?
Which is why
I want a point of order. He's asking a question about a paper. I haven't seen this wretched paper.
Well, it's your paper.
It's not my paper.
It's not my paper.
It's some leak that's been given to the Guardian.
Do your homework, but I thought you read
some leak that's been given to the Guardian, which we totally disown, and he's entitled to make up his own version of it, but he's not entitled to ask me about some document that I haven't even read.
He's here. You're in charge of the Greater London Authority.
It is not our policy. That is not budgetary policy. That is not, you know...
It says so. It says
well, the quotation I heard you read just now, the whole quotation I heard you read just now was that the cuts that were suggested in The Guardian would lead to serious disadvantage, and that seems to me to be a wholly plausible point. And,
yes, and that's why you want to manage expectations, isn't it?
The construction that's being placed on that paper by the Guardian is a load of absolute nonsense.
I'm just going to
repeat what we are.
I'll help you out here.
I'm going to repeat what we are. Let me help you out.
I'll help you out here, Mr. Mayor. I'll help you out here, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Kelly has a point of order.
All right.
I think the points that were raised by Assembly Member Biggs about us commenting on and questioning on documents to which we are unsighted was a valid one, the point you made yourself. We are now entering into a prolonged exchange where only one person seems to have seen the document in question. And I would ask that perhaps Mr Dismore holds his questions back until a copy of that document is circulated to all members.
Can I just say on this? Can I just make a ruling on this?
So that subject,
because I was asked if I would allow this as an item earlier on this morning as a mayoral update. My view was that it is unfair on the mayor to ask him to update us on something which has just appeared in the press in the morning and that he's not had a chance to brief himself on, and that the information the Assembly will get will be not of the best quality as a result of that. So I suggested to the Labour group that you raise it as part of a supplementary later on, which I'm very happy to take. But I just want to make it clear that that's actually the way that I suggested we go around this. Now, it appears the Mayor's Office have agreed to take this as a part of the update anyway, because you commented on it in the update. Therefore, questions on the update are allowed.
Yeah.
Address the Assembly. It was a request, and we fully understand it was the Mayor's choice whether to provide this update or we would go down the question route. And we thought we would ask the Chair whether he would wish to ask the Mayor, knowing it was outside the time, but was topical,
what I'm saying,
whether the Mayor wishes to answer those questions.
You can't expect me to be familiar with the contents of a paper I haven't seen.
Not the full detail, but the gist of these proposals, because they are part of his budget proposals. And the Mayor can either say they're true or they're not, and he's not going to do it. We'll be happy.
No, of course I'm not, because the budget process hasn't been completed. And what I can certainly tell you, can I just clear this whole thing up? What I can certainly tell you is now, hang on, Jeff.
Document produced by the Mayor's Office, and we haven't had a chance to see it.
Let me finish.
Well, you should do your job better.
But it does happen quite often at question time and at committees that some people have papers that other people don't have. And I'm not going to stop a line of questioning just because the paper is not in the possession of other members. Now,
look, what is all this doing to help young people in London?
I understand is going to start tomorrow.
What is all this doing to help young people in London?
Tomorrow.
Can I just say what we're doing, okay, to help young people in London, which is much more interesting than who's got a paper. What we are doing is investing massively in apprenticeship programmes.
I'm not stopping you. I'm not stopping you asking the question, Andrew. I'm just making an observation about ways that we may better deal with this.
Well, the Mayor gave us a lead of flannel at the start in response to the issue.
So, as far as I can tell, a question hasn't been asked yet.
Mr. Dismore. Thank you, Chair. Where we got to? Yes,
we're trying to help young people in London. That's what we're doing.
Which you're going to try and do by cutting 90% from the budget.
I'm not.
And what's quite interesting, you see, is having looked at all the problems that's going to cause, and you trying to manage expectations with all your flannel. The next steps, apparently, are to influence the Mayor's Fund for London's plan to support young people. And that's quite interesting because it, of course, refers back to the Penny for London campaign launched by the Evening Standard a couple of weeks ago. So what you're effectively going to do is ask the Evening Standard's Penny for London campaign to bail out your cuts. I thought it was supposed to be charitable donations by Londoners to help disadvantaged kids, and what you're actually going to do is to try and get the Mayor's Fund for London to bail out your cuts. That's what it says in this paper, isn't it?
Well, let's just... OK, that's a question. Are we going to get the Mayor's Fund for London to bail out cuts in as you call them in the programme? There aren't any cuts because we haven't agreed the budget yet, and we are investing vastly more in youth and young people's programmes already under this mayoralty than ever before in the history of the Greater London Authority. £50 million more. We have had huge success, as you know, with getting young people into apprenticeships, more than ever before, and the rate of people not in education, employment or training in London is now at the lowest for 25 years. We are putting 129. We are putting 120.
Paragraph 5.4 refers to increasing concern over levels of achievement of those at 17 plus, and in particular says there are low numbers of apprenticeships. That's exactly the opposite of what you've just said. This is your paper. So never mind all the flannel and waffle. Why don't you address the point in this paper that you're going to impose 90% cuts? Will you say here and now that you will not impose 90% cuts on youth and education in the next 2 years? Will you give an undertaking not to cut by 90%?
We will have a budget that does more for young people in this city than your party ever did. And we will continue to expand. We will continue to expand support for young people. And I'm proud of our record. And I'm proud of what the Mayor's Fund for London has done. I'm proud of what we've done with apprenticeships. And you should take that paper and stick it up your...
You are temper.
I'm proud of what we have done. I am proud of what we have done.
Calm down,
in this
Mr.
city,
Mannering.
And,
Let's have a look at this.
We have invested more in young people. We've got more young people into work in this city over the last 6 years than ever before, and I'm very proud that we will be continuing with investment
from 16, is it?
We're continuing with investment in youth employment initiatives, in apprenticeship schemes, in careers advice, which is absolutely crucial, with helping young people to learn digital skills, coding, so that they can take part in the tech revolution that is sweeping this city. We are investing in all those things, and I think you should look at the outcomes. You should look at what is happening to the attainment of young people in this city, which is now excelling that of young people, I'm afraid to say, in the rest of the country. And that is a fantastic thing for London.
That's not what your paper says.
And that is exactly what is happening in London, and we will continue to support
Long nose, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, he's finished.